first of all, Lee's gonna measure up the size. So the first mark is for the handspring, and then the second mark is for the top spring. Using this machine, it's probably over 100 years old. The stick comes down straight onto the blade and we cut it off, and then we use this part here to phrase it to fit the metal ferrule. And this is what cuts the springs in, so the hand and top spring, the slots. Is going to clean out those slots, stain it with the wood to get a close match to the original colour, and then he's going to make the springs fit the springs, so it'll be bit by bit. So he's just smoothing so there's no rough edges. He's going to drill 2 holes in those spring slots, so then when he makes the springs he can push them through the holes, and then they'll get cut off and riveted over so they won't come out. Okay, so the reason we go in and out, we don't just go straight down. If you were to push the drill straight through, it'd split the wood on the opposite side, so if you do it gradually, you get a nice clean hole come through at the end rather than any split wood. We cut it off into a point so it's easier to push through, because it's a very tight hole. So that's flattened and riveted on the opposite side, so it'll hold it in place. And then we just make adjustments to the spring to make sure it's not catching when it goes up and down. And then we do the same process for the handspring, except the handspring has a slightly different shape. So it's where we bend the head back of the spring, and then it's bent back over to create sort of a bridge. Springs all done by hand, and then they're then pinned in place so they won't pop out. so you get the nice clicky sound.
So that's the 2 pilot holes to fit the pins, and then we've also done the 2 pilot holes at the top to fit the stopper pins for the runner, which you'll see in a minute. It's all done by hand and eye. You know, we don't use any machines. It's all, you know, years of experience knowing exactly where to pin it, where to drill it. So those springs are now in place for the life of the umbrella. So just cleaning out the runner, make sure there's no loose bits of metal that could scratch the stick or anything like that. So you can see why this now has a different shape. So this can slide and lock into place. And then when you open the umbrella, that one sits on top of that to hold the umbrella open. Okay, so now when you open it, it's locked in place. Okay, so 8 ribs, 8 panels on the fabric. So we start off by feeding this wire through the little eye holes that you see. And each one of these ribs goes into each one of the slots on the runner here. Very fiddly. And that gets bent over and it sits nice and flat. So now the frame is made, we're just going to measure to make sure the umbrella will sit right. So the tip sits in the correct place to the base of the handle, and then we're going to pin the notch in place to hold it. That will then be nailed, and then you've got your completed umbrella frame. Making some final adjustments to make sure it lines up with the handspring. Back over to the pillar drill. And that's your completed umbrella frame. So it will be in the next room where it's all the fabric is cut and everything like that. Okay, so Lee's just going to put little rubber vents on the end over the ribs. So basically it's like a protective cap over the join. So it's folded 8 times the fabric, and so there's 8 layers. So it's just going to line up all the edges to make sure it's all nice and straight. And then one cut is one cover. Michael will cut, because of the way the cloth is, he'll then cut from here, this side, then he'll cut from that side, so there's no wastage. So what 3D will do first is she'll add a hem edge to every panel, and then once she's done that, you'll machine 2 panels together, then 4 panels together, and then you'll do the same, and then you do the 4 and 4, and you'll machine them together to make the 8 panels. And now the 2 4s are going to create an 8. Who's going to attach the tips, and Ty is going to attach the little tips that sit on the end of the ribs, which holds the frame onto the cover. So the band is what holds it closed. So this is put on now before it actually goes on the frame. So next we're going to add a piece of material called the inside rosette to the top of this to protect all the ribs and the wire. So now I'm going to attach the cover to the frame. The reason Ty is sewing the top is so it gives a nice tight fit around the stick. And then this is what's called the inside cap. So now we're going to tie the umbrella onto the frame so it holds it all in place. So next thing we're going to do is the tips then get attached to the ends. Then we're going to iron every panel, get all the creases out. And then once it's ironed, it'll then be rolled, the band will be finished, and then she'll put the outside rosette on as well. So it has an inside and an outside rosette. So now I'm going to roll the umbrella. So just gather all the tips, start the one with the button, pull out and round, put your finger in place. You do that with every panel. We just need to do that so then she can get the correct length of the band, because it's too long at the moment, so it needs to be cut down to the correct size. Okay, so she's going to make the tab of the band first. That's the made band that holds it all together. I'm going to make the outside rosette like we made the inside rosette. So the piece that goes at the top here. So this is the open cap, and that will go on the end, and then we'll fit a metal ferrule here as well. So we're going to knock it on using one of these holes here. Straight, goes on straight. And then, yeah, into there. Multiple uses, the lathe. And then with those two holes, we're going to put a nail through each one. Cut them off, flatten them, file them, and then it's finished. The maple naturally is a very white, pale wood. So in between the varnish that's coated here and underneath the ferrule, you would see a white strip underneath. So he's just coated it just to blend it in. And then it just needs an outside case doing for it, and then it is 100% complete. Sunday. We've worked together for all those years.
25.
Back in 2000.
Because nobody will be only that guy.
Thank you for being here with me. You're incredible.
Our strengths are our attention to detail.
I love it, yeah. That's why I'm here 20 years.
I think this is one of my favourite things to make. It's called a apron nose.